Welcome. My name is Jesse Peavy, and I am one of the SLDS trainers for the Georgia Department of Education. Today we have Dr. Hubert Bennett also joining us to answer questions if we have some additional questions. Today's sessions that we're looking at today, it will be called the Profile Manager for PowerSchool. We will be showing everyone how to create a new role inside the SLDS Profile Manager on the DOE platform. And since this is specific to a PowerSchool, we will also show you how to create a role inside the PowerSchool and how to assign that role to a user. Now, please keep in mind, we are not, and let me repeat, we are not the official voice of your student information system. So if you have questions regarding our comments about PowerSchool, please consult someone from PowerSchool, a representative from PowerSchool. And I hope that you have logged into your student information system, and if you have not, we invite you to do that now, because this will be a hands-on approach for the presentation, as I will be giving you some exercise to try. And I do realize it can be difficult for you to try to watch my screen and you want to do something inside of your student information system. So periodically I will pause and give you some time to explore on your own. And also let me say that if you have a special situation that you like to talk about, a unique situation, it's better to address that kind of like at the end of the session when the recording stops. So after the recording stops, we will entertain a unique question. So just jot that down on the side and we can talk about that at the end of the webinar. And also later in this presentation, we will be asking you to complete an electronic sign-in form. This will even apply to those who are watching the recorded version. And as we call it, this is your ticket out the door. We will use that contact information to send you an official certificate of attendance. You can share that with your administration in case you need to show that proof that you are actually attending this webinar. So without anything else, let's look and see if we can start the role to see how we can access PowerSchool, and then we will go and actually access the Profile Manager. So I will switch over to my PowerSchool, and let's see if it's coming up. Yes, it is showing up on the screen. And you will see this is actually today I'm using a local system that I did retire from. I did get permission to access this, but today we're not showing any confidential information, so I can show you just a live version of the software. So I have logged into the district office, and I am looking at PowerSchool, and then the way that you access the Georgia SLDS, you have a link here. Now, PowerSchool does give you the ability to create 2 roles for each person, or multiple roles for each person. Now, and that can be a blessing, it can be a curse, but at the same time, what we are recommending that you only create 1 role for each user. Again, let me repeat that. We are recommending that you create 1 role for each user. Now, in my situation that I will demonstrate today, I do have 2 roles because I am a district administrator for Georgia SLDS, and also I do have access to the Profile Manager. So you will see it ask me which role I would like to enter in. So I will choose the Georgia SLDS first, and here's where it asks me which role I would like to enter the platform. I will choose the Profile Manager. Click to submit, and if you're familiar with PowerSchool, sometimes it asks you for the second login, and yes, it did this time, what role I would like to go into, and I would like to go in as a Profile Manager. I click Submit again. As you can notice that on the Profile Manager, when you look at this, you only have 2 options. One is for the management, the other one is for the log out. So we are at the Profile Management main screen. As you can see, we have a couple of drop-down boxes here. First one is type, the other one is roles. As you can, we pull down the type, you can see you can view this by role. You can also view it by application. And as you would notice, once we landed on this page, it did go by role first, and so that is the default view that you will see when you access Profile Manager. The second item is called the roles. We're still viewing it by type as roles. And you can see this is the newly created admin GNets that has been going around the state recently. But you can see some of the other roles that are in the Blakely County Schools PowerSchool as far as in the profile management. They have the district admin for the administration at the district level. They do have a gifted D, and that is the district person for the gifted application. And actually we're going to create a teacher gifted role this morning. And then you see that like the GTID for the district, and then Blakely County does use the Go IEP system, so you see all the IEP different access that you have. You can see the parent, and I'll just go ahead and point this out. The parent and the student, roles, you cannot change those. Those were created by the Georgia Department of Education to give parent access to SLDS and students, and so those roles were actually hard-coded inside of there. Then you'll see that one was actually created for the high school feedback report, and if you have questions about that, we can help you toward the end of that with the high school feedback, because you need to be very careful about who you want to give access to that report. School administration, that's that one, and you see the teachers, and then you see a teacher GNets. So that is by the role. So as I will just go and I will view the district administration role. As you can see, as you'll have what you call a role avatar. This is the picture here. Notice we have a legend off to the side that gives you that this picture, this avatar here, is actually the role. And then the next down the line you will see like the applications. So you see the various applications from SLDS to GTID and so on. Now, after applications, you see sometimes you see a plus symbol beside an application. That means that there's more down below it, and it must have a container up underneath this application. So as I want to check this out, I will click on that plus symbol and notice that I do have various containers underneath this application. You can see I have the district, I have the school, and have the teacher. Since this is the district administrator, I would actually check the checkbox for district. But next you see it that we're at the container level. We've gone from the role to the application to the container. You see a plus symbol once again under the district. So I will explore that again just to touch it to see. And notice I do have more components up underneath this container with the gold keys. So coming down the line, the legend, you will see a role, application is SLDS, the container is the district, and then I have a various components in here. For instance, I can come down any of these assessments or any of these components inside of this container, and I can uncheck for this role. Like if I did not want the district people to see the users report for whatever reason, I could simply uncheck that, click the save button, and it would save it. It saved successfully. I will put that back, click save, so Blakely County would not become upset with me. But that gives us flexibility. It shows us flexibility of what you can do inside the Profile Manager. So now I will close up this application, and you can see the various other applications, and this one has access to the GTID district level, and you can see the various other applications that they have access to. The instructional improvement system, they have access to that. I can expand that. Keep on expanding down at the container level. And you can see the various components inside of the IIS tool and where that they have access to. And I could possibly take them away from the student growth model if I would like to. So again, once again, it gives you a lot of flexibility. As you can notice too, the high school feedback is not checked for this district admin, and as I said, a separate role was created just for the high school feedback report. So you can, again, you can go to the various roles, and you should visit this often or periodically at least to see what access the different roles have inside the Profile Manager. So if we look at it from this perspective, we've looked at it by the role. Now, let's take a moment we'll go back and we'll look at by the type, by the application. Let's see, for instance, if we're talking about the application, that who has access to the gifted application. I will change it to application. Now, the application comes up for SLDS first. Who has access to the gifted application? I simply can come down and click the gifted, and I can see that the district, the school admin, and the gifted district person has access to it. And I can continue to explore what level that each one of these different roles have to the gifted platform. So I can do this for any application inside of SLDS. And again, you need to visit this periodically to make sure that your roles have been set up properly. Again, this is looking at it by the application. Now, if I go back to the role one more time, and again it puts it in alphabetical order, one thing I did want to point out that I did not say previously, you notice that some things like the growth model, IEP, PD, and LOR, they only have an application. So there's not a container or a component up underneath these applications. So once you give the admin Jeanettes, in this case we're looking at, if you click that box, you would give them access to the growth model. So how about that I pause the screen for a moment and give you a moment that you can explore around in your roles and your applications and just see where you are as a district, and I'll give you a few minutes to look at that. I'll pause my screen and I'll be back with you in a few minutes. Okay, now that we have looked at some of the options inside of the Profile Manager, it's time for us to create a new role. And again, I did say the task would be to create a gifted role, and if you look by role, we only have a gifted district role. So if all I have to do to create a new role, there's a plus symbol with a new role label beside it. I can create that new role by clicking on the new role, and the box comes up, and I can type in this new role. Now, you have the ability to type in anything you want at this point. Now, in this situation, I'm looking at with Bleckley County, I know that they have the gifted listed as gifted and a D for district, excuse me, and a, like the IEP, they use it there. The IEP, they have it at the teacher, the district, and the school level by putting a T and an S and a D at the end of the role. You can do this in various ways. Some districts choose to put everything like the role name by teacher _gifted, so all the teacher roles will be together. So your preference on how you want to do this. Now, it is kind of nice to go ahead and put a description underneath the role. Now, one thing to point out here, this is the description. The role name actually serves as your token. So you definitely need to pay attention to this, because we're about to use this back over in PowerSchool once we create a role inside of PowerSchool. This has to be the exact punctuation, so make sure you can even possibly copy into that to the clipboard. You can do that. And I click the Save button. And it tells me that the new role, the gifted teacher, has been successfully added. Now, well, where is that new role? Well, the roles, this is the default view as you come into the Profile Manager. You pull down the roles drop-down list, and you can see that there's the gifted district, here's the gifted teacher. Here's the gifted teacher. Now, when I click on this gifted teacher, it brings up that new role that I just created. And by default, the SLDS application is already checked for me. Well, let's just go ahead and say that I want to just save this page real quick. Let's see what happens. I click the Save button, and it says please select a container for the application SLDS. So even though it was defaulted a check here, you still need to expand this application and give that teacher access to SLDS at the teacher level. I hear caller 2 talking there. I don't know if caller 2 can mute your mic. Make sure your mics are muted. And I'll continue on. So I had to, in the container section, I had to check the teacher, and again I can give them the only access. I still like to look up underneath those plus symbols just to make sure. Now once I click it the second time, it says successfully saved. So I have effectively given this new role access to SLDS at the teacher level. Now one thing to keep in mind, this is a gifted teacher. You probably would like to model this after a regular teacher. In other words, you'd like to give them the same roles as your regular teacher. So I would go back and I would look at the teacher, my regular teacher that has access to SLDS, choose that role, and start looking at the different applications that this teacher has access to, all the teacher has access to, SLDS, the growth model, the TRL, the GoFar, the PD, and they actually have the LOR listed there. I don't know if I will give that to all to the gifted teacher. I guess I can. So now once I have that, I simply can go back to my newly created gifted teacher, and notice the SLDS is checked. I have the teacher there like I did a while ago, so that's good. So it was to growth model. Now this does not have any containers underneath this application, so I check the growth model. And then we mentioned TRL. Under TRL, you see that you have several options here. Notice that one under the parent even. So parents have access to the resources. But under teacher, I can check the teacher, expand that to explore those components. They all look good. So I'm good for TRL. Now I would like to give them access to GoFar. That would be at the teacher level. Looks like they should be able to do all of those various components. So I can close back up GoFar. And the last one we talked about would be PD and the LOR. This regular teacher had that. We'll give them here at this point. Well, the most important one, it looks like I forgot here, did I not? And that would be the gifted. So let's expand this application. And you can see that it actually has a district school and a gifted teacher. So we are looking at the gifted teacher. And one thing about a gifted teacher, they cannot approve any of the gifted students into the program, but they can only submit. So that is the gifted teacher. And notice up at SLDS, this says gifted teacher, but under SLDS, it's just simply a teacher. There's a difference between that. So make sure I give it the gifted teacher. I think we're done setting up this role inside of the Profile Manager. I click Save, make sure I have made no mistakes. We look good. So what I'll do, I think I'll pause at this point and let you have the opportunity that you can go and create the gifted teacher role inside of your Profile Manager and explore those and give them access to various items like you would like. So I will pause my screen and I'll be back in a minute or two. Thank you. At the home page of PowerSchool at the district level, I went to the system, clicked on the system. It brings up the system administrator page. And then I'm looking for the roles administration. And that is listed underneath the security group. And here it is, role administration. Once I click on roles administration, I have three options. The option I would like to choose is actually the user access. I choose user access. And it brings up all the roles that have already been created inside of this PowerSchool. And you can see the name, the description, whether or not it has been enabled and granted access. And also you can see this ever critical token, the token. So in order to create that new gifted teacher role, I click the New button, and then I can give it a name. And it already populates this because I was practicing this last evening. And then I can type in a description. Then if it talks about the Georgia LDS token, if you remember, that was the gifted T for teacher. And then you want to grant them access to that. So going back over this again, I gave it a name, a description, you grant them access, and the token is the gifted T for the teacher. For the gifted teacher, I click submit, and it did save. If you want to make sure it did save, I click back one screen and the cookie crumbs, and you notice it is down toward the bottom. It says the gifted teacher role, and it has enabled and access for Georgia LDS, and there is that ever important token that has to be properly capitalized and exact to what's inside of ProfileManager. Now, one other little thing is inside of PowerSchool, the gifted district is up here. I have a gifted school there too, but I can click this and drag up, and yep, I can drop it right there, and it puts those three things into order. I kind of like keeping my things in order like that. So I have the district, the school, and the teacher. Now, so I've created that role inside the roles administration. Now it's time for us to go and give a teacher the role that I just created. So I will access the staff tab. Then I will search. I have created a fake teacher in here, and it's X-ray. Johnny T. X-ray is the teacher. So I will choose him. And then under the Admin Access Roles tab, you have several tabs here under the security settings. That's the tab location I'm at first. There we go. Now I can come down to the roles and the schools. Simply I have to come and add a role. And since SLDS is an external system, that's what I will check. Click the next button, and then I will find that role I would like to apply them to. And there is that gifted teacher, that new role. So I click that, hit OK, and submit, and hopefully it did work. So now what I will, if you'd like to create that role inside of PowerSchool, I would invite you to do that, and you can always go back and delete it. So I will pause my screen to give you a chance to do that, and mute my microphone also. So I will pause for about a minute. Thank you. Okay, now that I have created that role inside of PowerSchool and granted access to that teacher, I just would like to try the teacher to see if it was going to work. So now I'm at the teacher's login page for PowerSchool. I log in as this teacher, X-ray. Now, I have the Georgia SLDS. I click on that. And there is all the applications that I signed to that new teacher. Now, it has no current schedule, of course, but you can see the various SLDS tabs that I've given access to inside of the Profile Manager. Now, one thing I would like to demonstrate to you, though, is an error that is a common error that happens a lot. Let me see if I can demonstrate that to you. I'm going to log out. close this, log out of PowerSchool, and I will log in into an admin portion of it. And I did create a school level access in PowerSchool. As you could see that I did create a school gifted level. So I will log in as that school gifted person. And so I'm logged in as Susie School Level X-Ray. And when I click on the SLDS link, let's see what kind of error that I get. So I click on that, and it gives me you are not authorized to access LDS portal. Well, let's see if we can find out why that is the case. So if I will come back and I will look inside of PowerSchool. Let me get back to it just a second. There we go. Now, if I go back to the Roles Administration one more time by clicking on the PowerSchool homepage, go down to System, go down to Roles Administration, go to User Access, and I do have a gifted school. And there is the token. If you look over to the right, is the token. So you see how the token is spelled with a capitalization. Now, the other option is to go inside of back into the Profile Manager, and let's see if I have a gifted S for the school level role. As I pull that down, I only see a district and a teacher. So that is the reason that I'm getting that unauthorized access in the SLDS. It can happen if you misspelled your role. If you have an underscore inside of it, like the teacher GNEX here, if you leave off the underscore, anything like that will cause it to give you that error of not being able to access the screen. There we go. There's a screen up there. So you are not authorized to access SLDS portal. So I would have to go in, like I said, go in and create that new role at this time. Now, I would ask Dr. Bennett to make sure we're talking about a school role for the gifted. I would like for him to share the difference between gifted teacher, the gifted school, and the gifted district, and mainly talking about the approvers and who can approve those students. If you'll do that, Dr. Bennett.
Thanks, Jesse. When you have a user that has the gifted teacher role over in over in the Profile Manager under the gifted application, you saw that there was district, school, and gifted teacher. Gifted teacher is very different than a regular teacher. Thanks, Jesse. If you will open up that gifted application, the plus sign. There you go. Gifted teacher, if you assign that, that user will be able to search any student in that school. The reason for that is the gifted application allows gifted teachers to enter COGATs, Nagliers, Renzulis for students that are not yet gifted. So all the other applications, as a teacher, they only see students on their roster. However, gifted teacher gives them access to, can see the name, GTID number, and the grade level of every student in the school, because they will be entering data for students that are not yet on their roster or not yet in the gifted program. That gifted teacher designation allows them to only enter data. They can only enter COGAT scores. They can only enter Renzulli scores. They can only enter it. Then they submit that to an approver. Any role that you give school level or district level gifted application, they are approvers. Some districts may have an approver at each school. Most districts that I've run into, except for the big school systems, they will have a district approver. So the teachers enter the data, they submit the data to an approver. The approver would be at the district level. However, you could have a school approver that would be approving only those gifted applications of those students at that school. I have run into this scenario, and this is just a FYI. A gifted teacher, say for example at the high school, she may also be the one that has a final approval. If that's the case, then you would want to give that teacher, that normal teacher, access school level wise. So school level and district level, they can also submit data, but they would also be able to approve. So all three of those containers, those three different levels, district, school, and gifted teacher, can enter data. The only two that can approve it would be school and district. So you would need to make sure that you could adjust that to almost accommodate any scenario that your district has from their gifted application. I can't remember if Jesse mentioned this earlier, but we are actually in the early stages of developing or designing an EL application as well. It'll work similar to the gifted, but the EL will be English language learners. EL will handle the requirements and things for those EL students. So one of the fields might be whether they're ESOL or something, but that will work similar to the gifted. In other words, an EL teacher level would need to have access to all students as well, because they will be looking or testing students that might not already be designated and be on their roster. I hope that answers that question, Jesse.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bennett. And again, one last thing, we're about to wind it down here. For whatever reason, and you've been exploring some yourself there, I just want to show you this little last feature. I guess you could say I've undone my work, but if you have, you're not happy with your role here, you can, it's okay for you to explore around. If I click this or either double click on it, it comes up that I can actually delete this role and start over. So feel free to go in there and to experiment some by creating this roles. Now you might want to have a fake teacher or give yourself access to that role before you issue it out to many users, because you want to make sure that it's functioning properly before you send it out to many users. And inside of PowerSchool, you do have the roles administration. You do have a way that you can massively assign these roles. But the gifted sometimes is more of a limited way. So again, I just want to show you how you could possibly delete it. And if you're exploring around, feel free to do that. And in PowerSchool, if you're on these, and I'm looking at this and laughing a little bit, I see this old counselor's role here that would never materialize to anything. So we could easily come in here in PowerSchool and delete the roles inside of PowerSchool too, and just by coming in here and clicking the delete button. But I'll let them know in Bleckley County they might want to use it, delete that one. So with that said, we're about to end the recording part of this session, and we will stay on here to make sure that you have some questions at the end of the presentation. Let's see. Go to back to my PowerPoint. Let me make sure that you're seeing that. There you go. It says, now that we have completed the presentation, everyone, even those watching the recorded version of this, please complete this electronic sign-in form. And please, you need to open up an internet browser, and you need to type in this address that you see there. That's GOO.GL/C 3 capital V 1 lowercase w and uppercase W. So I think y'all are excited I can read that off to everyone. So you see that where you will receive your certificate once you complete the viewing of the webinar. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind, it is case sensitive, so make sure you have that, and I called it out that way. But also that your email that you enter into there is critically important because that will be the email that the certificate will actually go to. As I said earlier, if you need to share your certificate with administration, in case you might need some proof of attending, you can do that. And if you have a difficult time with the URL link that you see there, you can email either myself or Hubert. You can see our email address is there and at the bottom of the screen. And if you have a question about this specific webinar, you can contact myself or Hubert. Again, many of you know us across the state, so we're willing and eager to help all of you in any way that we can to make it easier. But if you have general questions, you can see the SLDS training team email address there that you can send things there. And I want to thank you for your participation with us today, and I hope you found that this has been beneficial to you. And if you cannot attend a face-to-face training on our other training modules that we have been offering lately, please participate in some other webinar training session. So at this time, I will stop the recording.